No one ever asked you if you were okay, not because they didn't care, but because somewhere along the way, everyone agreed, silently, without a single conversation, that you were the one who didn't need to be asked. You were the one who held it together when everything was falling apart. You were the one who showed up, who stayed calm, who fixed things, who carried everyone else's weight so quietly that after a while, people forgot it was weight at all. They forgot because you made it look so easy. And the better you got at making it look easy, the more they gave you to carry. No one crowned you the strong one. There was no moment where someone sat you down and said, "This is your role now." It just happened, slowly, quietly, until one day you looked around and realized that everyone in your family had someone to lean on, everyone except you. And the most painful part isn't the carrying. The most painful part is that after so many years of being strong for everyone else, you don't even know what it feels like to be weak, to need someone, to fall apart, and trust that someone will be there to catch you, because no one ever taught you that you were allowed to. Today, we are going to go into the psychology of the person who was always the strong one, why it happened, what it cost them, and how they can finally, after all this time, put some of it down. Origin. How did you become the strong one? The first thing you need to understand is this: you did not choose this role. It was assigned to you, and not with words, but with circumstances, with need, with the quiet desperation of a family that required someone to hold the center, and you were the one who stepped forward. Or maybe you didn't even step forward. Maybe you were simply the one who couldn't look away. Psychology identifies several pathways that lead a child to become the family's emotional anchor, and almost all of them begin not with strength, but with fear. Imagine a home where one parent is struggling, maybe with illness, maybe with grief, maybe with their own unresolved pain that spills into the household like weather no one can control. The other parent is physically present, but emotionally somewhere else entirely. And there is a child in that home, watching. That child makes a quiet, unconscious decision. If I stay calm, maybe things will be okay. If I don't add to the chaos, maybe the chaos won't grow. If I become the one who holds things together, maybe the thing I love most, this family, won't completely fall apart. No therapist taught them this strategy. No parent asked them to carry it. Their nervous system built it automatically because love, for them, became deeply connected to responsibility, to sacrifice, to being needed. Family systems therapy calls this the parentified child, a child who takes on emotional or practical responsibilities far beyond what their age should require. Not because they are extraordinary, though they often are, but because the family system created a vacuum and their sensitivity would not allow them to ignore it. And here is the part that follows them for the rest of their life. The role never officially ends. They grow up, they leave the house, they build their own life, but the wiring remains, the deep automatic belief that their value is connected to their usefulness, that love must be earned through strength, that needing help is a burden they have no right to place on anyone else. The child who held the family together becomes the adult who holds everything together, and they do it beautifully, at a cost no one ever sees. The signs. So how does this show up in adult life? Let's go through the signs. Sign 1. Asking for help feels physically uncomfortable, not just difficult, not just awkward, physically uncomfortable, like something inside you resists it at a cellular level. Someone offers to help you, and your first instinct, before your rational mind can intervene, is to say, "No, I'm fine, I've got it." Even when you clearly don't have it, even when you are drowning. This is not stubbornness. This is a deeply conditioned neural pathway. When you spent years in a family where your role was to be the helper, never the one being helped, your brain formed a very clear equation. Needing help equals weakness. Weakness equals being a burden. Being a burden equals losing love. So your nervous system learned to reject vulnerability before it could even fully form. Asking for help doesn't just feel unnecessary to you, it feels dangerous. Sign 2. You are everyone's emergency contact. Emotionally, your phone rings and it is never someone calling to share good news. It is someone who needs you, someone in crisis, someone who is falling apart and needs the one person they know will always answer, always listen, always know what to say, and you answer every time because that is what you do. But here is what happens on the inside, the part you never say out loud. Sometimes you stare at the phone for a moment before you pick it up. And in that moment, there is a feeling you can't quite name. Not resentment exactly, not exhaustion exactly, something quieter and more complicated than both. The feeling of someone who has been giving for so long that they have forgotten what it felt like to receive. Sign 3. You have mastered the performance of being fine. If someone asks how you are doing, your answer is already prepared before they finish the question. Fine, good, busy but okay. It comes out smoothly, naturally, convincingly, because you have been performing it for so long, it no longer feels like a performance. It feels like the truth. But late at night, in the quiet that comes after everyone else's problems have been solved and everyone else has gone to sleep, there is a different version of the truth. A tiredness that goes deeper than sleep can fix. A loneliness that exists not from lack of people, but from the specific ache of being surrounded by people who need you and realizing that not one of them truly knows how you are doing, because you never told them, because you didn't believe they could handle it, because somewhere deep inside, you still believe that your pain is less important than theirs. Sign 4. Receiving love feels unfamiliar and sometimes frightening. Someone is genuinely kind to you, not because they need something, not because they are in crisis, but simply because they care about you, and something in you doesn't know what to do with it. You deflect the compliment, you minimize the gesture, you immediately think about what you can do in return to balance the equation. And because a world where someone gives to you without you giving something back feels fundamentally unstable. Psychologists call this an insecure giving pattern, where a person's sense of safety in relationships is built entirely around their role as the provider of support. When that role is reversed even briefly, the psychological ground shifts beneath them. You know how to love by giving. You were never taught how to love by receiving. Sign 5. You are the last person anyone worries about, including yourself. In a crisis, you are the one organizing everyone else, making the calls, holding the space, being present for the people who are breaking down. And you do all of this before you have processed a single thing yourself. Not because you don't feel it. You feel everything, but you have spent so long placing your feelings at the bottom of the priority list that you do it automatically now, without even noticing that you are doing it. And the people around you don't notice either, because you are so good at strength that the people who love you most have never once thought to ask if the strength is costing you something. The cost. Now, what being the strong one really does to you here is what decades of being the strong one quietly builds inside a person, a profound loneliness that is almost impossible to explain because you are never alone. You are surrounded by people who love you, who need you, who would be genuinely lost without you. And yet, there is a specific kind of isolation that comes from always being the one who gives and never being the one who is held. You have never fully collapsed in front of someone and felt them stay. You have never said, I cannot do this anymore, and had someone say, then let me do it for you. And you have never been truly, completely, unconditionally taken care of. And after a while, you stop believing that it is something available to you. You begin to see it as something other people get, softer people, more vulnerable people, people who weren't built the way you were built. But here is the truth. You weren't built this way. You were shaped this way by circumstances that required more from you than any child should ever have to give. The strength was never the real you. It was the armor you built to survive a situation that required it. And armor, worn long enough, starts to feel like skin, but it isn't. The way forward. So how does the strong one finally put some of it down? Not by becoming weak, not by abandoning the people who need them, but by making one fundamental shift in how they understand their own value. The first shift, separate your worth from your usefulness. Your value as a human being is not measured by how much you carry. You were worthy of love before you ever carried anything for anyone. That child who took on the weight of the family, they deserved to be held before they ever learned to hold others. Begin to notice the moments when you automatically reach for the helper role and gently ask yourself, is this something I'm choosing? Or is this something the old wiring is choosing for me? The second shift, let someone see the real weight. Choose one person, someone safe, and tell them one true thing about how heavy it has been, not the edited version, not the version that protects them from worrying, the real version. You do not have to perform strength for someone who genuinely loves you, and the ones who only stay because of your strength, those are not the relationships worth protecting yourself for. The third shift, receive without immediately giving back. When someone is kind to you, practice staying in it for a moment before deflecting. Let the compliment land. Let the gesture mean something. Let yourself be seen as someone worthy of care, not just capable of giving it. This will feel uncomfortable at first. That discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. It is the feeling of an old pattern loosening its grip. The strong one in the family is never just strong. They are brave in a way that no one recognizes as bravery because it looks so effortless. They are generous in a way that costs them deeply because no one ever sees the invoice. They love in a way that is quiet and steady and unconditional, even when that love is never quite returned in the same way. If this is you, if you have spent your whole life being the one who holds everything together, I want you to hear this. You are allowed to be held too. You are allowed to have a bad day that is about you, to have a need that is about you, to fall apart just a little in front of someone who loves you and trusts that they will not leave. You spent so long making sure everyone else was okay. It is time for someone to ask about you. And if no one in your life has asked lately, consider this that question. How are you? Not the performed version, the real one. Leave your answer in the comments. I am here, and I am actually asking if this video reached something in you that has been waiting a long time to be named. Share it with someone who has also been carrying more than their share in silence. Your act of sharing today might be the first time someone finally feels seen. I am Psychology Brain. Subscribe so we can keep exploring the parts of the human experience that most people are too busy to stop and feel. Thank you for being here until the very end. See you in the next one.